A vision to bring a food hall to downtown La Crosse fell flat last month, and the men behind the idea still have beef with their former landlord. Ken Kowzarowski has the story.
Emily, the LAX Food Hall owners say on the surface their leased space was everything they needed, but they found massive problems within the walls. Problems they say the building owner should have covered, and they're now hoping the court system can bring them justice. For Michael Margulis and Zach Switzer, the Exchange building checked all the boxes.
It was the only place that we could get to the size that we needed to be able to hold 10 or 11 different kitchens.
They signed a lease in January 2022 with Great River Property Management. But once they started building out, they say they found a veritable buffet of problems. Asbestos, black mold, nearly century-old wiring.
You can't run 11 kitchens off of, World War II era technology.
Contractors told them it'd be at least $500,000 to fix it all. They turned to Great River, thinking under their lease, it's the owner's job to handle building upgrades.
We sent them a list and we're like, here's all the money that we've spent outside of our space fixing your building up, and here's the systems that need to be updated so they can handle something modern. And they responded by sending us a letter demanding that we sign an agreement saying that upgrading the whole building was our responsibility. We refused to sign that because we didn't want to take on the liability of upgrading the whole building. Like, even when we offered to reimburse Great Rivers for upgrading the building, the bank was like, you guys are being suckers. That's not your responsibility, it's their responsibility. They knew better. We probably should have sued.
Instead, they stopped paying rent, and Great River changed the locks. By January, the two parties agreed on eviction, and LAX Food Hall was out $60 grand.
Every dime of our life savings.
While they may not be contesting eviction, they still want to go to court.
We responded by filing a counterclaim for all the damages this has caused us.
A $9 million claim. But do they have a case? Switzer sent News 8 portions of the January 2022 lease agreement. It reads in part, the food hall had the opportunity to inspect the leased premises and accepts it in as-is condition. Then under maintenance and repairs, the lease says Great River shall maintain the premises and make all necessary repairs, but it's not required to make any repairs. That tracks with state law. A Milwaukee law firm specializing in real estate says a landlord is typically responsible for repairing structural and major component parts of a leased premises. But in many commercial leases, the landlord may try to shift responsibilities to a tenant for things that exclusively service the leased premises. And that seems to be the essence behind the letter Great River sent the food hall. That same letter puts the food hall on notice for not paying rent and says eviction can be put on hold if the food hall has a way to make those building upgrades. This isn't the first time Great River has had financial disagreements with tenants. Since the food hall announced it was closing January 11th, a handful of former tenants at other Great River properties have reached out to News 8, alleging Great River representatives tell them one thing and write something completely different in their leases. They were hesitant to go on camera for fear of retaliation.
We should have looked up businesses that used to rent from them and spent the time to call them instead of just seeing a good property at a good price.
If Margulis and Switzer pursue legal action, their future is uncertain. The only thing that is certain, what was supposed to be the LAX Food Hall is now just an empty space, ready for a new tenant. The food hall owners and Great River's attorney have a scheduling conference this Friday in La Crosse County Court. Emily?
All right, thank you, Ken. This morning, Great River Property Management's lawyer has sent us a second lease agreement from July 2022 that supersedes the lease the food hall provided. There is a significant difference between the two. While January's lease says Great River will maintain the premises and make all necessary structural and electrical repairs, the July lease says the food hall is responsible for that. The food hall signed that lease. The building owner has also sent News 8 a statement. It reads in part, "We are disappointed that the food hall will not be opening for our business in our historic Exchange building, but because the food hall failed to complete its project or even obtain all necessary permits and stopped paying rent for months, we have been left with a demolished space and substantial financial losses. The food hall inspected the premises, accepted its condition as is, and agreed to pay for any and all improvements. We disagree with the public statements made by the food hall and its owners, and we are confident that the evidence will prove them wrong."